Sam?
Yeah, sure. Okay, we're going to get started here. This is Sam Ware with Westchester County GIS, and want to welcome everyone to our community mapping workshop. And it's intended to show everyone how to use freely available online tools, more specifically geospatial data, now commonly referred to as open data, public domain data. Show you how to make maps, collaborate with others in your community. As we all know, data visualization is a much more powerful and intuitive way to look at data. But we want it to be informative, educational, and of course fun. So I want to thank you all again for taking a little time out to join us, and we've got a good workshop here planned by my staff. I was going to introduce County Executive Latimer, who was going to do say a few words, but I believe in his absence, Pete McCart, who's on his staff, Pete's going to say a few words. County Executive Latimer's administration, Pete, Board of Legislators have been extremely supportive of our work in this space, enabling us to work with municipalities, community groups, nonprofits. It's very empowering technology, and we're very appreciative of their support. With that said, Pete, you want to say a few words?
Sure. Thank you very much. I know everybody was hoping to have George speak, so I fall very, very far short of his oratory experience and his passion he brings to it. But Earth Day has come and gone, and gratefully we have seen promising signs in our fight against COVID-19. But the work to develop more resilience in our communities at every level continues, particularly as we look ahead to climate change. New York State has passed one of the most ambitious climate legislations in the country, and Westchester County has joined in to do our part. 2 years ago, we created the Climate Crisis Task Force. Out of their community resilience work has come Planting Westchester and many other initiatives and programs. But Planting Westchester is a program to support the planting of trees, community gardens, green infrastructure, and to help address food insecurity, combat flooding, and support community health. We joined the New York State Climate Smart Communities program and are proud to announce that Westchester County just achieved the bronze certification last Friday. So it's big news. We've been told to sit on this by the DEC, but we can't any longer. We have numerous municipal groups working hard to increase resilience in their communities, like CACs, Climate Smart Communities Task Force groups and planners and other organizations. And we have a really strong volunteer base, an intelligent volunteer base here in Westchester. And we have tools like GIS that bring in data and enable more informed planning, analysis, and communication. GIS links data to place so you can better understand the context of what is needed and where. Where are the most vulnerable populations? Where are the hottest parts of the community? Where are the most strategic places to plant? These types of decisions are better made when data-driven, and GIS is a tool that enables strategic data-driven planning. So we're proud to welcome you. We're proud to welcome you, and it's going to be a great workshop. Everything that Sam and Anjali and his department touch have just been so fruitful and helpful to our businesses and our organizations and our residents. We can't thank them enough. They really are the cutting edge, the state of the art. And as soon as I joined the county, I was proud to go down and meet Sam. I think it was on my second day on the job. But thank you very much, guys. Keep up the good work, and I'm looking forward to this next hour. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Pedro. With that said, on behalf of County Executive Latimer, thank you very much. I'm going to turn it over to my staff, specifically Anjali Sudoff, and Anjali's put a lot of work into this. And with the support of other people on my staff, Anna Geraldo, Courtney Weiler. So Anjali, step up to the mic and get started.
Our county executive is here. You're on mute, Anjali, and George is here if you'd like to introduce him.
Yes, this is what I was intending to do.
Okay.
I would like to introduce, thank you so much, our County Executive, George Latimer.
Thank you, Angeli. And I've enjoyed the program so far. I don't know why I wasn't visible, but I'm here in spirit and here in person. Pete was wrong when he said that he couldn't speak as well as me. What he said really summarized exactly what I would say. Let me just add to it, and then I'll jump off so you can get on to the substance of what you have to do. A lot of us who are civilians, who don't have the technical training or knowledge, care about the environment, and we want to see improvement. But we don't quite know how to do it. We don't have the technological skills, or we don't have the professional skills to marry together the things that we want to see happen with the actual specific things that have to be implemented. And when I sit up on the ninth floor, there's so many people that work for this government that are professional, that have talent and skill, and they're often underappreciated and unrecognized. And it may well be that the real story here is what you're going to cover in the next hour is what gets us a lot closer to the goals that we have than any speech I could give at State of the County message. So understand that I appreciate both the county employees and the people who work in other settings, with other governments and other professional settings. We rely on what your skills are to help us get to where we want to go as a government, but as a society, even more importantly than that. And with that, I thank you, Angeli. I guess I'll return it back to you. And I appreciate Pete and everybody else who's here today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I would like to introduce Ana Geraldo Gomez, our GIS guru, who will go over a few words on logistics now. Ana?
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. Thank you for joining us today. Basically, what I'm going to go through is the logistics and the announcements for today. As you noticed when you first logged in, we are recording this session. At the beginning, we request that everybody stay muted until we open it up for questions at the end of the presentation. For the presentation, we do ask people to be able to set up your window at this point or your desktop to have both the WebEx, which is this conference, and then have a separate browser, a tab for ArcGIS Online and the Westchester GIS website, which we provided on the chat window, a link for those two. If you have any questions during the presentation, we're going to be able to answer those questions. Just make sure that you open your Q&A window under the panels option. Courtney and I are going to be navigating to make sure to answer any technical questions that you have. For general questions at the end of the presentation, we're going to open it up for questions. And at the end of everything, we're going to send out an evaluation so that you can help us plan better for future technical workshops that we hope to have. With that, I'm going to introduce Courtney Weaver and myself. We're going to be doing the monitoring of the overall presentation. And Angeli Sofa is going to be doing the presentation. We ask people to be able to, again, have those two tabs available as she goes through the presentation. That way you will have access to the ArcGIS Online as well as the Westchester the Westchester GIS website. With that, I'm going to turn it over back to Angeli. Angeli, thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ana. And thank you also to the County Executive, George Latimer, Peter McCart, who, as you know, is Director of Sustainability and Energy Conservation for Westchester County, who also helped support the development of this workshop. and to Sam Weir for seeing the potential in GIS since its early development and creating such an impactful program for Westchester County. And thanks to you all also, our participants today, for taking the time to learn more about all of the spatial data that Westchester County has to offer, how it can be visualized and used to strengthen the work related to planning, analysis, and communication in your communities. So I'd say one of the biggest strengths of this tool is that it allows for people to better understand the context of places. If you are looking at an issue in isolation, whether housing, open space, transportation, you may be missing a bigger picture that might then prevent an idea from taking root or action from being developed. Understanding context ultimately helps to develop more informed decisions, as we've been witnessing over the past year and a half. These tools will be used to help to keep informing us beyond the pandemic to address issues related to community resilience in the coming decades, as Pete alluded to. So today I'll be guiding you in a simple GIS exercise that'll introduce the basics of creating a map using ArcGIS Online. Once you learn the easy steps to creating simple maps, you can play around and integrate other data that may allow for you to see places through a different lens. So today, our workshop objectives include to briefly describe a geographical information system, or GIS, and why it's important, to introduce our recently updated GeoHub site and take a short tour, to learn about map services and how you will use them to easily populate your maps. We'll go through the basic steps of creating a meaningful map, and you will learn how to share your maps with others in order to help support action. Once you're through, we want to see your maps that you create. You'll have a chance to send them to us to be posted. We also want to hear about whether the workshop was helpful and what you'd like to see in the future, so you'll have an opportunity to share that information with us. So what is GIS? In a sentence, GIS is a framework that connects data to place, which allows for us to better understand, as I noted earlier, context of place and to visualize the data. It helps us to understand what is where, enabling for people to make better decisions. Last year, the Westchester County GIS Department completely overhauled its website to organize our spatial data so that anybody can easily access it and use it to create maps, to tell stories, to access useful tools, and to educate themselves and their communities. I'll take you on a short tour of the website. At the moment, you'll find a lot of useful information on topics important to residents, including COVID-19 data. Here we see two dashboards. This is an image of our website, one that shows locations where you can get a vaccine, the other showing case data broken down by municipality. There are interactive web applications on a variety of topics. You can look at natural resources inventories for your community. You can see, for example, where major watersheds are located, fish and wildlife habitats with that web application. You can access useful resource guides, such as this one, to support people who may have a disability for services. You could promote civic engagement by learning more about your elected officials. And there are practical applications on things like where you can find a licensed contractor, something that may come in handy for all of the people who are renovating. And there's a plethora of data available to the public that's categorized by topic. So if you go to the website and click on any one of these icons, it'll bring you to all of the available data in that category that you can add to a map. Today, we will be, in a few minutes, focusing on some of the environmental and planning data to make our map. So why would this be useful to us? I know that there are many representatives here from municipal groups, from nonprofits and others who are focused on the environment, on community health and well-being, and on strengthening community resilience. So our purpose here today is to introduce you to some of the tools that can help you in your work. For example, on those conservation advisory boards, councils, and climate smart community task forces that Pete mentioned, as well as other initiatives that nonprofits are working on. Westchester County Westchester County itself and most, I think if not all the municipalities are part now of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation Climate Smart Communities program. And many of the actions that are developed by municipalities as part of this program will be informed with location data on things like community assets that might need protection from flooding, or existing open spaces, potential areas for planting, even vulnerable communities and other social data can be overlaid with infrastructure and other information. Westchester County, through one of Pete McCart's initiatives, is also launching the Planting Westchester initiative to support the planting of trees, green infrastructure for flood mitigation, community gardens all across Westchester. And these actions also can be informed with relevant maps for more strategic planting decisions. So let's begin our exercise to make a simple digital map using data from the GeoHub. We are going to make a map of Westchester County that shows us floodplains as well as petroleum bulk storage sites, just as an example, using data that's freely available. According to the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, across the state, there have been many instances of petroleum or chemical spills that have caused environmental contamination, especially with improper handling or storage. We also watched as Hurricane Harvey hit Houston a few years ago, 2017, how the storm and flooding led to the failure of more than 24 storage tanks, spilling at least 145,000 gallons of fuel. So that doesn't mean it's necessarily going to happen here, but looking at these two data sources together, we have more information to prepare in the event of a big storm in the future. So if you haven't already done so, I would ask you to open your two tabs, the hyperlinks Anna has put in the chat box. And what we'll be doing is toggling back and forth between these two tabs. One is your map that you're going to create, and the other, the GeoHub that I just described, that has the data sources that you're going to use to populate your map. There are the web addresses that will point the map, the direction for the map to create your map. And I'm going to switch my view so I can do this exercise together with you. Let's see. So here we have arcgis.com, the mapping site, and yours may or may not look exactly like this, but you should see a map button in the upper left-hand corner. And then my other tab is the Westchester County Live GeoHub site. Okay, so we will start by clicking on map. Okay, and the first thing that we have this empty base map. We are going to begin to add data to this base map by clicking here, adding data. And again, as I indicated, we're going to be grabbing that data from the GeoHub site, which is on the web. So we're adding a layer from the web on that drop-down menu. Okay, this gives us brings up a window with a URL box. So we're going to toggle back to the GeoHub site, and we're going to scroll down to the data sets that I mentioned earlier. What you'll do is click on Environment and Planning, And that brings us to all of our related data that has to do with environment and planning. And we'll scroll down to petroleum bulk storage, and we'll also see our flood zones. Did I pass it? Right here, floodplains. So click on floodplains. Doing so will bring up details of the floodplains. It gives you an introduction, and I'm seeing a different, hold on. Okay. An error occurred. So this will happen. Let's try it again. We can start with petroleum. Okay, let's go down to floodplains because that's where everybody else is. Clicking on floodplains. Okay, I'm going to start now with here. So we go to the data source. Okay. And it looks like we're having trouble with our website. Oh, here we go. So here is our floodplains data. This is called the service. Okay. And the service is a way, it gives us the possibility to easily populate our maps. And we do so by going to the address, the URL, and copying it. Okay. So after you've copied the URL, we will toggle back to the map. And you will paste the URL into the box and click Add Layer. And I'm going to give people a minute to do that. And as Anna and...
Hi, Anjali.
Yes.
Hi, Anjali. I'm sorry. I just wanted to mention something. When users first open up the map, they may actually have the whole world extension as opposed to just being zoomed into Westchester County. That is okay. We have it set up on our end that whenever we open a map, it extends also only to Westchester County. And that's the reason why when Anjali opened the map, it went to Westchester. But you could just zoom in, just pan and zoom into the Westchester County area by using the zooming tools or holding down the Shift key and drawing a box on the map.
I'll give you a minute to do that. And again, as Anna and Courtney indicated earlier, any questions or requests to slow down, as I'm getting, just let them know and they can relay the message. So you can see how we can zoom in and out and it will populate. All right. I'm going to go back to the GeoHub site. And again, within the environment and planning section, there's petroleum bulk storage data, which we'll click on. To access the service. And we go to the data source. And one thing I want to note as well, I have all of these instructions in a step-by-step manner with screenshots that I've developed. And we will be able to send you all of the instructions after this workshop. Okay, so we'll send you the recorded link to the video, as well as the step-by-step instructions that I'm giving you right now. So we are going to view data source to get to the map service for petroleum bulk storage. Okay. And then we, again, go to the URL and copy it. And then toggle back to the map. where we click Add, Layer from Web. Again, we go to the URL box and we paste that web address, telling the map exactly where to fetch the data from, which is the GeoHub website. And we click Add Layer. So you'll slowly start to see the map populate depending on how fast your connection is. And meanwhile, I'd also like to show you some of the functionality on this map. So we can toggle back and forth between content, which is what we see now. It's kind of a table of contents, and legend. So we don't see this yet because it's an awful lot of data and my internet connection is a bit slow from home. And we can see the symbology for all of the layers that are on our map. Okay. This also, we can also, these three dots indicate other options. You may be interested in renaming some of these layers to with simpler titles. So then we would rename. We can take out some of the excess words and add in petroleum bulk storage. Can do the same with the floodplains. Some of the other functions, if we hover over this, this shows us what's called an attribute table. It displays the data that's behind the symbols. So there is, now it's finally beginning to populate. These are the petroleum bulk storage sites. And again, slowly this will populate an attribute table, which looks basically like an Excel spreadsheet. And you can do that for all of the layers that are being displayed on your map. Here we go with the floodplains. You can also see the location data. We often get messages like this, and we just have to be patient. Checking and unchecking these boxes will also allow for you to choose which layers to display and which layers to hide. But the interesting thing again is when we put different layers together to perhaps see things in a new way or be made aware of things that we wouldn't have normally. So we then need to, this is populating again. Yeah, Courtney is indicating, is messaging that the floodplains might be too big to, they will slowly populate again, and you will become used to this with working with ArcGIS.com. But the next thing we need to do is save this map. We are just adding these two layers for the time being to make a simple map. I want to teach you how to save a map, of course. So we go to Save As, click on that, and enter some kind of a descriptive title. Westchester County floodplains and petroleum bulk storage sites. And then we also need to add tags to enable for people to, if you make a map public, to be able to enable people to search for your maps. So Westchester floodplains and petroleum. And you just click return, and this will automatically save in your ArcGIS Online account in a folder, a default folder. So we'll save that map. Okay. So I'll give people a minute to catch up if they need to and ask questions. And in the meantime, I'm going to show you another option that we have. That is a simple map. Another option is to create a web application from that map, which is sometimes a preferable way of displaying and sharing a map. It has a little bit more of a polished look. This is the map that we just created, and this is a web application. It also allows for you to customize the map a bit to your liking. So it looks like this is populating. Another thing I want to show you as it populates is that you can, as it does, you can click on a feature, say one of these dots on there, and it will bring you a pop-up box that gives you information that we have about that specific site. So whether it's an address and other location data, the municipality, it will give you specific information. So then what we'll do is, after saving our map, we want to share it. And you can choose who can view the map, your level of sharing. So we have different options on our ArcGIS Online accounts than you may have on yours, but at the least you should be able to share with the public, right? And then as you do so, you can then copy this link and embed it into a website or an email to be able to share your map. On this window also is the possibility to create that web application, and we are going to do so by clicking on that. And this gives you several different options. The web app builder is what we're going to choose, and it uses the default title and tags to create the web application that's based on the map that you just created. And you scroll down to get started. And you can't really do anything wrong with any of these tools. I think that is the biggest hurdle that people sometimes have in teaching themselves GIS. It's almost like you think of your kids who are given an iPhone. They're not afraid to press any buttons and just see what happens. And likewise, I would encourage you to do the same and just explore on your own. So this is where we start in our creation of a web app. And the theme, they're just different design options, and we prefer the foldable theme. So we will click on that. By clicking on map, it gives us the option of the map extent upon launch of the web application. So we like to be able to see all of Westchester County. So we will use the current map view. And this is kind of the fun part to explore. These are widgets. This gives you the possibility to customize your map. So you can do things like upon launch of the web application, display the legend by clicking on that little dot there. And this is how I typically, this is the typical display that I use on my web applications. I keep it relatively simple. You can add search bars, but I believe it has that by default. And you can play with some of the other widgets just by clicking on them and seeing what they do. Again, we'll want to save periodically. Clicking on attribute, there we go, there it's populating. Clicking on attribute will allow for you to change the title in this box. And launching over here in the lower left-hand corner will allow for you to see in a new window what people will see when they get your web application and you share it with them. So this again will slowly populate, and here's the legend the legend option that we used. And you can zoom in and out. When we go back to the map, we make sure it's saved, and we can again just copy this link and paste it or embed it. I just would like to show you what I was telling you before. If you click on any one of these dots, so this is a petroleum bulk storage site that's located in Yorktown Heights. And you can click on this little triangle to look at how the other layers, the context of the other layers at that location. Okay. So this is saved. And I'd like to pause for catch up and addressing any questions that Anna or Courtney may have gotten in their Q&A boxes. Anna, do you have anything to share or any questions that you'd like to go over that you see people are having trouble with?
Yes, we may want to just maybe slow down a little bit. I think that some of the users are having issues like trying to log in to the web map or opening the web map. So
okay.
there's no specific code. So when you open up a web map, and I wanted to actually say the difference between the two. I like to make a reference to a web map as your canvas. That's going to be where you're going to incorporate all of the layers that you want to make visible for your final application. Once you set up your web map, you want to set up the symbology for each of the layers. You want to make them in the right order. And once you're ready to share, you want to click on that share link that Angeli has selected at this point. Once you click that share, what that does is that it now enables you to create an app, what we call the web map app application. And what that does is that it allows the users to only use the functionalities that you have defined for your web map. So if you want users to be able to print the map, if you want the users to be able to search or maybe add in additional data sets and things like that, that's where you do that. There's no specific links or code. So once you create your web map and you hit the first code that you see this on the top, that's going to be your web map, which is the one that says link to this map. But once you hit the create a web map app, sorry, it creates a separate link.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no possibility for using like SVG files for icons or color coding in CSS?
Yes, so that you will do or you would integrate when you're in your web map. Under add, it gives you the options to select the layers. But before you do that, Angeli, can you go to home content from another tab?
Home content.
Or maybe, so click a new tab.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to share
a new tab?
Okay.
Yeah, let me see if I can
your screen.
Yeah, this is fine. This is fine. And just open up arcgis.com again. And so it gets you to your home page where you have your content. Sign in again.
Yep.
Okay. And this is in reference to the question, the specific question to create a file based on a CSV file. So this is where you would do that. This is where you would actually create a new feature. You can add an item and then upload from your computer. So Angeli, just hover over to add an item just to show him. Yeah. So from here, that's where you would integrate a CSV file or another shape file that you have already stored in a separate location that you want to incorporate. Once you have uploaded the CSV file, it's going to ask you if you want that feature to be a feature hosted layer. And you will say yes. And what it does is that now it creates a layer that you can add to your web map. So once that's created, then you should be all set. And then go back to the web map. And then when you hit add, when you click on add, as opposed to adding a URL, which is what Angeli was showing from the GeoHub, instead of adding, you're just going to add search for layer or add a layer from your content.
Right.
I hope that answers your question.
Hey, Angeli.
Yes.
Everyone, this is Sam. That was a really good question. I just want to jump in that, you know, it represents also what Angela has shown is adding content from our website, the GeoHub. And then there was a question about someone adding their own data, which is very common. But everyone should know too that add button is a very powerful button. It really enables you to explore the cosmos and the internet. It just becomes your viewers just become your own personalized mashup. You can add URLs from, you know, New York State, DEC, from the EPA. We used to think about all this as file-based. Now this map services is a very powerful concept. It bundles all this data and puts it out. If you can reach the URL, you can mash it in to your, and that data and content covers the Westchester County footprint. You can add it to the map. So she showed from art, but it's really a URL that's being published anywhere can be added to the map.
Yep.
Right.
One other thing I wanted to add too, Angeli, was that everybody should know the map that you see, the map that you're adding content is our authoritative Westchester County digital base map. It's the real deal. It's not a Google map. That's a base map that's derived from aerial photography that we fly every 5 years. And that's at a scale of 1 to 100. So it's a very accurate base map. It just so happens that we share that data with the SRI and they burn it into their worldwide base map. But the Westchester County content that you see is very, very accurate.
I would imagine this is JSON files, basically web API.
From being published by ESRI, the base map.
No, the content in general when you're putting it in. I would imagine is it kind of like drawing from like HTTP requests from like an API through an open API source and REST, the JSON REST?
Yes.
Okay.
This is just to go back to what Sam was talking about, the power of this. Again, we were adding a layer from a web, just adding any web address that provides a GIS service. But the fun part is to really explore. If we search for layers and we look on, so the default is for your content, but if you search ArcGIS online, there's a whole community that provides data out there, and some are more authoritative than others. So just like you scrutinize your sources of news and other information, so too would you need to here. But there you can see where there are authoritative sources, and you can add anything. You can search for something, say COVID is a popular one, and just look at what's available. And you can click on any of these data sources. They're not necessarily specific to Westchester County footprint, as all of the data on our GeoHub is specific to Westchester County. These have different spatial dimensions, but by clicking the plus, you can add any of these data sets to your map. So there is a lot of scientific data, there is social data, there are all different kinds of data sets that you can add to visualize in Westchester County.
Hey, Angeli, could you go back to the GeoHub for a second, please? And scroll down to the map services, just a base map. And for those of you who are very daring and want to take a little further dive into this, go down to map services and click on our server. So, and click on that. So this is, and for those of you who are more daring, this is really the big kahuna where our data is. This really shows the power of the technology and the power of that concept of map service. Map services are bundles of data. We over the years have thematically bundled our data into environmental community facilities in the same format that Angeli was demonstrating. You can get the URL for any of these map services and add to your map. You can see too, this is where you grab, which one did you, I don't.
Disability resources.
Yeah, so that would show the map service individually has multiple data layers that you can cherry pick from to add to your map. And Angela, just go back to the list of services and I will shut up, I promise. But then also for everyone's sake, this also is where all of our historical aerial photography is, going back to the 47 photography. But so if you really want to take, there's two ways. You can add content kind of on a layer by layer basis that Angeli showed, or you can be a little more daring and pick a full map service, which has many, many data layers bundled together, and then just cherry pick the ones from that. Angeli, can you open up the environmental one, please?
Sure.
If everyone, we were talking in.
Yes.
Yeah, so for, again, the environmental map service has all those individual layers in it. And I should know, I don't know if they all appear in the map legend. You just, as you are authoring the map, you would just click the box of the individual data layers from this group that you want to show. I'll shut up. I will mute myself. I'm done.
Well, I will just demonstrate what Sam was just suggesting as an option. We can use the options button to actually remove any of these layers that we've added and just play around. So now we've removed these from the map and we can go, again, just have to click on the URL, copy it, and add layer from web, paste it into the URL box, and it will give us the whole bundle that Sam was talking about. So if you then click on this in the table of contents, here are all of the environmental and planning related data layers that are hosted for Westchester County on our GeoHub. And you can click on any of them to be able to display, visualize. Again, because there's such large data sources, some of them take more time than others to populate. And you can explore, look at this, surface geology in Westchester County. You can click on anything to get more information about what you're looking at. And, we can, again, look at an attribute table to understand, this is a little not so understandable, but you can look at, say, zoning districts and open an attribute table and get some more information about zoning districts for those of you who are doing municipal level work. So I would like to, in the interest of time, provide a few more minutes. We have a couple of more minutes for questions. If anybody has questions, they can be simple or more general. The technical ones, you can have a chance, you can email us for more information. Anna, did you want to say something?
Yes, Anjali, I'm sorry. I just wanted to mention really quick that a lot of people were following your steps, and they might have seen the windows a little bit different or the choices a little bit different. That's because a lot of you, well, actually most of you are using the personal account set up at the ArcGIS online website. So some of the features of some of the functions that Anjali has the availability to do are not available if you're using your personal account. So really quick, I just want to mention that once you log in and once you have your web map ready and you're going to share content, what you're going to do is that you're going to share the content and you're going to click on when you get to the create a new web app, you're going to select showcase at the bottom of the table of contents. There's several options there, separated by different categories, whether you're going to edit data, where you're going to build a story map. But this case, you're going to select where it says showcase a map. And then from showcase a map, then you have different templates that you can choose from. The one that you want to select at this point is just going to be the basic viewer. But as you can see, there's plenty of choices to choose from. So I would suggest or recommend that you play around with the different types of templates. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Ed. That's a really good point. There are, depending on the different accounts, there are different options. But again, I would just encourage you, this was one simple example map where we just pulled 2 available layers and added them to a map. You will be exploring the available data, hopefully, on the GeoHub and looking at what's available, looking at what's meaningful to you or your work or your community. And for example, here is an open space map. I know a lot of people on this call are doing work that has to do with open space. There are different categories. There are so many different ways of visualizing this and just exploring, right? So I'd encourage you to just play. And secondly, I just would like to put up an email address, okay? We would like to remind you to play with your maps, create maps, and then as you share, after you save them, send me the links. I'd love to see them. We would like to post them. If you have questions, also, you can use this email address. This is me. And we want to remind you to have fun with it, not to be intimidated, to reach out with questions. And we also would like to remind you that there will be a follow-up email that'll include a link to the presentation. It will include detailed instructions on how to make that example map with those 2 data layers. So you can go back and refer to it and try this again on your own. And then if there are any roadblocks, just reach out. We will also, in that follow-up email, ask you for your feedback. We'd like to know whether this was helpful. This is the first one we're doing, how it can be improved, and what you'd like to see in the future in terms of a different theme possibility. One of the things that we're thinking, one of the preliminary ideas that we have is to do another workshop on how to make a story map. It's a little bit more advanced, but it's a wonderful way of developing a map and then being able to create context, right? And just put it out there for people. So you can embed photos, you can embed maps, you can put in stories, and it's a really wonderful way of communicating. So that's a possibility. So if you are interested in some of these ideas, we would like to hear your feedback. And I think we are just under 2:00, which is perfect. I'd like to thank again Sam and Anna and Courtney, especially for all of your help with logistics and support and ideas. And thank you all again for taking the time to spend with us. And I hope that it was a useful workshop for you. And I'm really looking forward to hearing your feedback and ideas and seeing your maps most of all. So thank you.